Let's talk more about what this attack is all about and what could and should be done in response. And joining me now to do that is former FBI tactical officer Greg Shaffer from the Shaffer Security Group. We're also joined by counterterrorism expert Oz Sultan. Oz, let's start with you. Oz, the terrorist live streamed this horrific attack. He also posted, as we mentioned, a 74-page manifesto detailing his plan of attack and his motive. What does this tell us?
Well, this one is a little bit more complicated than terror attacks we've had previously. The attack itself, well, let's start with the manifesto. The manifesto is a large-scale troll or shitpost that has about, I would say, 20 or 30 different memes emanating from the internet in it. And I didn't make a couple of notes on this one, including a Navy SEAL copy pasta that basically starts out with... it basically starts into talking about how you're going to crush or kill someone. I mean, he's got, claims that Spyro Year of the Dragon, which is a video game, taught him ethno-nationalism. He references Fortnite, talking about flossing on top of corpses, which is a dance from Fortnite. And what he's doing here, and this is complicated in two levels. One is that he has put together the ultimate troll, and what you have is a lot of media outlets really buying into this because they're not up to date on any of this information. They don't live inside of 4chan or Reddit culture. They've never probably heard of 8chan, which is another board where a lot of these things are posted. And this is a completely new world to them. The world that he's talking about is a world that exists pretty much between millennials and Gen Z and a little bit of Gen X. Now on to the crime itself, the terrorist attack. There's a crypto aspect to this because he had, which is interesting because he had, of all the platforms that he could have chosen to do the live stream on, he chose BitChute, which is a Bitcoin an encrypted platform that allows you to share video and video content. And then on top of this, the methodology by which he actually went and killed everyone is very much like playing, a first-person shooter. He's running through a mosque, he's shooting, he's dropping a clip, he's reloading, and he's shooting again. The claim that he has is a bit of the ethno-nationalism coupled with the challenge that he had of being impoverished, also coupled with the challenge that he had of really not finding an opportunity for himself or white men. And this is something that you hear resonating a lot on 4chan, on a number of boards online, and there's even groups on Reddit where you'll see this type of commentary. The problem that's really kind of coming from this is that, this is white supremacist coupled with meme culture, coupled with really kind of an ethno-nationalism that we haven't necessarily seen on this level before, promulgated in an attack that has caused mass casualties. And on the one side, we need to be benchmarking against this kind of a risk and attack. On the opposite side, I think we need to start taking some new preventative measures because this sets kind of a new stage of a new laughing man type character.
At that point, Oz, I'd like to bring in Greg. Greg, what are the preventative measures that could be taken with this kind of horrific attack and the use of social media, both to propagate it, to advertise it, and perhaps even fueling it?
Yeah, how you stop these things. And if I had the answer to that question, I'd be the most famous person in the world. First and foremost, you need to train the individuals in industry and in businesses and in schools on how to react to these active shooters. I mean, you look at the crime rate in New Zealand. They've had gun deaths have been in single digits for the last decade. This is an anomaly for them. And as a result, I'm confident that they have not been trained the way we train here in the United States, where these incidences, unfortunately, are much more common. You saw, or I did see in the video, which I have seen in the video, where a lot of the people in the mosque were just cowering in a corner. They weren't moving. And in these instances, your first and foremost course of action is to get off the X. But that being said, too, with live streaming nowadays, it provides instantaneous notoriety. And oftentimes, that notoriety is the trigger for those sitting on the edge deciding whether or not they
Right.
want to go and do these kind of things. So that live streaming aspect of it is just a different. It adds a different dimension to these incidents.
And Greg, that is why we here on Clear Cut have made a concerted effort to not, in fact, name the terror suspect because we don't want to provide him with that notoriety. I do want to focus, Oz, on the attack. It's being politicized all over the world. The manifesto is, in fact, being used as ammunition by a number of different groups, each one finding a justification, if you will, for their side or against their other side of a particular political argument. Anti-conservatives are latching onto it, pointing it out that it's an right-wing attack. Others are pointing out that this guy claimed he wasn't a Christian. He called himself an eco-fascist, that his favorite government is China, communist China. Is this part of the intention here to create as much buzz and discord as possible?
This is a massive, this is like a multi-level troll is what he's doing. He is trolling the world. And it's typically something you would just find, on a Facebook page or maybe Twitter. But this is the first large-scale troll that's ever been executed. And then two, we have the challenge of he stated that his goal by doing this was to impact politics in America. Okay, and so the blame throwing, the casting of just falsehoods, and then also the conflations. You're throwing in Candace Owens with President Trump. I mean, this is all nonsensical. All right, what it really kind of comes down to is, our colleague just spoke about. There needs to be active shooter training, coupled with a new methodology by which we're going to start looking at these folks that I call the laughing man, because they're lone wolves.
Oz, I'm going to have to cut you off. Thank you so much, Greg Shaffer. Stick around. We'll be right back. Across the world, security is being stepped up in mosques and synagogues and other houses of worship after a horrific attack in New Zealand in which 49 people were killed in a shooting massacre at mosques in the country. The suspect, identified as a 28-year-old Australian white man. He has appeared in court briefly today, and he is in police custody. Let's talk more about what can be done and what should be done in response. And joining me for that, we're back with Greg Shaffer from the Shaffer Security Group. Greg, we are seeing these soft targets, these places of worship, attacks increasing in synagogues, in churches, in mosques. Is it time for serious preventative action to be taken? I mean, you can say it's unfortunate that we need security outside these places, but is it time that authorities step in here and start demanding this?
Well, I think it is time. We live in a more dangerous society. We're very splintered right now throughout this country especially. And for any large gathering of people, I think it's would behoove those who are planning those events to have armed security on site, to have the armed response, because you never know where or when it's going to happen. It could be anywhere from a synagogue, a church, to a movie theater, to a school, to a state fair. So yes, we do need to be more proactive in not only responding to these incidents, but we need to be more proactive in identifying what the pre-incident indicators are. We need to get in front of this and be able to identify who those are, because in my 31 years of doing this, I don't think I've ever seen an incident where there wasn't somebody afterwards that didn't say, you know what, I saw this and didn't think it was important. We go around saying all the time, if you see something, say something. That's great, and we need to do that. But people just don't think what they see may be important. So continue that push to see something and say something, and to report things that are suspicious, because you never know when that one small thread or one piece of information is going to tie up an entire picture to identify this person who we can hopefully then talk to before he goes on these killing sprees.
Greg, very quickly, in the horrific event that one finds themselves in a nightmare scenario such as this, what are things that you should and shouldn't do?
That's a good question, and thanks for asking that. First and foremost, move. The hit rate on a moving target with a firearm is about 6%. 6% hit rate. So you have a 94% chance of not being shot by doing one thing, and that's moving as quickly and as fast as you can. If you can't move because you're trapped somewhere, start looking for ways to defend yourself. Look for improvised weapons. It can be a chair, it can be a pair of scissors, it can be a tactical pen. But never just sit back and hide in a corner and wait for your turn to die. If that shooter comes at you, at least fight back. When it comes to that one point, don't just sit there and die. But again, first and foremost, move. Get off the X, run.
Good advice for what is sadly a horrific reality as these instances continue around the world. Greg Shaffer, thank you for your input.
Thank you very much.